Rump Chapter 7. Gold means food. I tucked the gold beneath my blankets. The warm happiness I had felt at seeing all the gold fizzled as fast as the snow on a hot griddle. Now I had a weighty, guilty, heart-pounding, sick-to-my-stomach dread. I didn't leave for the mines when I should have. I sat on top of the gold and thought of all the things that could happen. Frederick and Bruno might think I stole the gold. If they told, I could be arrested. I could go to the dungeons for the rest of my life, or even lose my life. I had to tell Gran. Gran would know what to do. But when she rose from her bed, she looked so old and tired, so pale and stooped. I couldn't tell her. Any more weight on those shoulders and Gran would crumple to the ground. And I remembered the way she had reacted when I first found the spinning wheel. She did not want me to spin, and now I realized it wasn't because I couldn't do it, but because I could spin more than thread and yarn. I could spin straw into gold. And Gran had tried to keep me from doing it. What kind of magic was this? No, I could tell Gran. I could not tell Gran. But I needed to tell someone because I felt heavy with worry. And I wouldn't know whether my worry was real or not until I said it out loud to someone. The only person I could think of to tell was Red. When Gran wasn't looking, I removed the bobbin from the spinning wheel and wrapped it in a rag and tied it to my wrist. I didn't see Frederick or Bruno in the mines. Any other day, this would have made me happy, but today it made me nervous and anxious. The pixies swarmed around me more than ever. When I threw dirt over my head, they'd fly away for a minute or two, but they always came back. So I just let them crawl all over me, their tiny chant ringing in my ears, "Gold, gold, gold!" "Wow, look at him! Look at the pixies!" said a little girl working closest to me along with the Sulis. "You must be finding hordes of gold." I didn't find a speck. When the sun was low, I waited for Red to come out of the tunnels. She had dirt smeared all over her face and looked cross. She walked right past me, but I still followed her. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to show you something." "Show me then." I looked around, wary. "And I need to tell you something." She walked even faster. "So tell me something." "It has to be someplace where no one will see or hear." I brushed the pixies out of my eyes, and where there are few pixies as possible. Red scowled at me and kept walking, but after a while she stopped and turned back. "Hurry up, I'm hungry." I followed Red down the mountainside and through the village. When we passed the mill, I got a cold prickle on my neck, like someone was watching me. I hurried past. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised when Red went into the woods, but it was getting cold and dark. I just stopped inside the trees. "Where are we going?" I asked. "To a place where no one will hear or see, and where there are no pixies. That is what you want, isn't it?" Red folded her arms impatiently. "Is it safe?" I asked. "If you stay on the path and don't ask questions." "What path?" I looked down and my mouth fell open. There was a path beneath my feet, clearly trodden and winding further into the woods. I would have sworn it hadn't been there before. I had never seen it. "How?" I started, but Red cut me off. I said, "Don't ask questions." I closed my mouth and followed. Red led us deep into the woods, much deeper than I'd usually go. She didn't seem afraid, though. In fact, she seemed more comfortable here than she was in the village. She touched the trees as if they were friends. A bird fluttered down to a low branch and chirped as though he were saying something to Red, and I had the feeling she understood the bird, even though she pretended not to notice. "Do you come here often?" I asked. Red glared at me. "Sorry." I wasn't supposed to ask questions, but questions were all that rose to my mind. The path curved and twisted. There she was, talking to me, and how much further was it? I bit my tongue to keep the questions in. Then I started to hear something, a low hum. It got louder as we walked. Suddenly, we rounded a corner and came upon a giant fallen tree. The tree was swarming with bees. I froze. I saw Red's thinking. Of course, bees and pixies don't like each other, so where you find a swarm of one, you probably won't find a swarm of the other. But bee stings don't sound much better than pixie bites. I stayed far back. Red walked right to the edge of the swarm. Slowly, like a creeping cat, she moved through the buzzing wall of bees, reached her hand down the log, and pulled out a chunk of honeycomb, dripping with golden honey. She moved back just as slowly. Bees crawled all over her head and arms, and even her face, but she didn't flinch, and soon they all flew away, back to their honey log. She broke her honeycomb in half and gave me a piece. Gold you can eat, she said, and we licked the sticky mess. You could trade this for green, I said. Probably lots. Wouldn't want to, said Red. Why? She'd get a whole sack of grain just for this one chunk of honeycomb. Because some things people like to keep to themselves. This has always been my tree, and I don't want anyone else to know about it. If you tell, I'll punch your teeth out. It made me feel really special that she would share it with me. And I don't think you can come here without me either. I won't. Promise? Promise. Even if I dared to walk this far into the woods alone, I wouldn't be able to get the honeycomb like she did. Not without getting stung 1,000 times. We sucked all the honey off and chewed the waxy comb. Then we licked our fingers. It was so sweet I almost forgot why we had come here until Red pointed at the bundle and tied to my waist and ankle, asked, "What did you want to show me?" I untied the bobbin and held it out for her to see. She glanced at it and then stared blankly. "It was my mother's," I said. Red raised her eyebrows, suddenly interested. "She was a spinner from yonder." I looked at her confused. Yonder? Gran never told me about my mother, or that she was from yonder, and she didn't tell me about the spinning until I found the wheel. It made me mad that Red knew these things, and I didn't. How do you know that? How do you know she was a spinner? Some people know, she said, not looking at me, and I could tell she was hiding something. What people? Some people, she said, and her nostrils flared. The bobbin, I said. I think it's special. I didn't want to say magic. I knew how Red felt about that. It's just a bobbin, she said. But special, maybe. How's it special? What does it do? I chose my words carefully. I think it spins things different, makes things change. Bobbins don't spin. They just catch whatever you're spinning. Then her eyes widened as though she suddenly realized something. What did you spin? Nothing, I said quickly. What if you could spin one thing into something different, not just wool into yarn? Such as, what if you could take some straw and spin gold? Red stared at me. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. We need gold. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe. She didn't believe me. If a cow can give milk and chickens can lay eggs and dragons can make fire, then why can't a magic bobbin make gold? Because this bobbin isn't magic, she said, but you might be. Me? Magic? No, I'm not. Using my magic was one thing. Being magic sounded like a mountain of disaster. If anything changes to gold when you spin, it's coming from inside of you, not the bobbin. How do you know? I'm just guessing. Well, maybe you're guessing wrong. Red sighed. It doesn't really matter where the magic is coming from. What matters is that magic makes trouble. Your mother used to make magic and spin, and she got into a lot of trouble because of it. There's always a consequence for using magic. But this would be a good consequence, I said. Gold. Yes, but... And gold would solve a lot of problems. Stomach problems, for sure. Maybe, but... And it's not like I want it all for myself. Red hit me on the head, so I'd stop talking. Those are just natural, regular consequences, Rump. There'll be magical consequences, too. Magic has its own rules. How do you know? Don't tell me it's just a guess. Red gritted her teeth. Didn't you learn anything when you watched Kessler get chased by every mouse on the mountain? But nothing happened when I spun. I didn't catch on fire or get attacked by mice. I just made gold. That skins of gold that could fill the whole village. I clapped my hands over my mouth, but Red looked surprised. Rump, she said in a soft voice. Does anyone know about this? I sighed. Frederick and Bruno were looking through my window this morning, right after I spun the gold. Red frowned. But, I went on, if only to make myself feel better. They probably didn't know what they were seeing. Probably just looked like a pile of yarn to them. Red's frown deepened, and that's when I realized what kind of worry I had. The worry went from my head and sunk into my chest and settled into a sickness with my stomach. Frederick and Bruno might be complete idiots, but any village idiot knows gold when they see it. The next rations day, the line at the mill was very long. Everyone was eager to stock up before winter came, and it was almost here. The air was biting now. There was always frost in the mornings. The pixies were more subdued, and they began building nests for their winter sleep. Now we were just waiting for the snow. When it was my turn, the miller gave me a sack of meal, bigger than usual. I looked at him surprised. No one else got this much meal. Gold means food, the miller said gleefully. I looked at him confused. I had only found a few pebbles of gold in the last week, and the miller wasn't kind or generous. I opened up the sack. Outside the cottage, and a thick, dusty powder billowed out. I choked and coughed as the dust went into my lungs. The miller had filled the bag with chalk and sawdust. Gold means food. The miller was giving me a message.